why did you make me this name that has become a household name? Because my business was thriving in Ghana, Renée Q, everybody knew the Renée Q brand. Why did you make me this person, knowing that I'll go through this struggle and this difficulty and have everybody talking? When I say everybody, you know what I mean. Like people talking about me, people when people are talking about how Renée Q is doing well, then somebody else will say, oh, but at the end of the day, she's barren. So what's the big deal? And that kind of thing. Why didn't you make me this very quiet lady sitting in a corner, struggling in peace, struggling in private, nobody knowing what she was going through? But you made me this force and this name, and people mention my name, and when they mention my name and they want to say something positive, somebody standing next to them can try to pull me down by using the word barren. Hello everybody, my name is Renée Q Boateng, and this is my story. So I grew up in a Catholic home. I come from quite a staunch Catholic family. I went to Christ the King, and then I went to St. Rose's Secondary School, and guess what? I was the chapel prefect. And that was really interesting. I mean, going for mass probably about 3 times a week, 2 or 3 times a week, I don't quite remember. So I mean, all I knew really was the Catholic religion, and that's what I was used to. So I got married, and I started going to church when I wanted to, and I didn't really see it as a relationship with God. I didn't really see going to church as growing to have a better and stronger relationship with God. I just really saw it as, going for mass. I mean, that's all I saw it as, just going for mass. And so my husband and I mean, we would go to church when we wanted to go to church. And I didn't really think that there was anything wrong with that as well, because we were just, very happy in our marriage, just living our life. There was nothing evil per se that we were doing. So I to be honest, I didn't even think that there was a problem with that at all. I started my business. I started working in a bank for a while, fantastic at my job, but I just wasn't fulfilled. So I left it and I started entrepreneurship at a very young age. I think I was about 22 when I started entrepreneurship. I started by decorating and designing pieces, accessories, jewelry, and then I moved on to clothing, and then I started makeup artistry, and I was thriving in my business. I really enjoyed it. I had amazing clients, and there was one particular client who would come and buy from me, and all the time she would speak about Christ. So she'll finish purchasing and everything, and then she'll speak a little bit about God. She'll ask me, she'll say, oh, so where do you fellowship? And the fellowship, I mean, the first time she said it, I was like, fellowship what? So where do you fellowship? So I was like, I didn't get it. I really didn't get it. She said, where do you go to church? Oh, Christ the King. And she'll talk to me a little bit about Christ, about the relationship, about this, So anytime she left, I would think a little bit, I just, but again, I saw her as a Crife woman. And growing up, we all knew Crife. We all knew like spiritus, all of that, all of those terms that we'll call people who actually, were building their relationships with the Lord. And that's what I always would say. I mean, she was just such a beautiful, stylish woman, but every time she comes, she'll talk about the word, she'll talk a little bit about Christ, and she'll invite me. She started inviting me for programs. And I thought, oh, that's not for me. I don't do that kind of thing. That's not for me. So all the time I'll give her an excuse. And one time she came and she's like, I'm going for ministry today. She said, I was going for a prayer meeting today. And she said, I'm taking you, I'm going with you. I just thought I always would find an excuse for her, but she said, oh, I'll wait for you. If you're busy, I'll wait for you. When you're free, then we'll go. And that time I realized that she wasn't kidding. So I said, okay, let's go. So it was almost time to close the shop. So I closed, and then we're just going. I was driving behind her. Now at that point in my life, there was just something that wasn't perfect. I mean, there's nothing that is perfect. But at that point in my life, there was something missing. There was something missing. I had a great marriage by God's grace. I still have a great marriage. I'm married to such a great man. We have a great relationship, I was happy in my marriage. I had a thriving business. I had great clients. Everything apart from the fact that my husband and I were struggling with infertility. So we had been married for a while, and weren't having children, and that as well became a bit of a struggle when people started talking about it. Initially, I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, or I didn't panic, let me say, in the beginning. Let me repeat that. Not that there was nothing wrong with it, but I didn't panic in the beginning because I felt I was quite young. I got married when I was 23, and I was working. So I didn't think there was anything wrong because I thought that there's time. But, living in Ghana, living in our culture, for those of you who know, it can be quite tough when you're going through things like this. And then you just have people who are quite insensitive, if I should use that word, and will talk to you anyhow, or ask you questions, or, put it straight to your face. And when are the children coming? Where are the children? What are you doing? Everybody's having children. What are you doing? And that is when it became quite difficult. My husband already had 2 children, and I took his sons as my sons because they are my children as well. I mean, to get to a point where people start telling you that they are not your children, so just bear in mind that they have their own mother. I mean, at that point, I just thought, my goodness, what's going on? So there was something missing. There was a sort of pain, there was a sort of discomfort, there was a sort of fear sometimes, a sort of confusion sometimes. Like, I really didn't know what was happening because we also were seeking medical help. And, everywhere I would go, I would be told that I was fine. There was nothing wrong with me. So many medications I was taking and all of that. So I at that point, I just felt like I knew that there was something missing, but I didn't know what it was. So driving behind my clients that evening and going for this prayer meeting, I just started talking to myself, asking myself so many different questions. Where is she even taking me to? Am I even safe? What prayer meeting is this? Will I go home? I have to tell my husband that I'm going somewhere. I mean, all these sorts of little voices here. This one is saying this one is saying that, and I was just so confused. So we got to the event, to the venue. We got to the venue, and she came to my car, and I said, "Oh, you go, I'm coming. You take the lead, I'm coming." And at that point, I just said, "God, I don't even know what's happening, and everything is in your hands." I started, talking to God and sort of like, telling him to take control. But at that point, I was so frustrated that then I said, "Is there even a God?" And I just slammed my door. I just said, "Is there even a God? Because look at everything that is going on. Is there even a God?" And I just slammed the door, and then I went in. So I went in, and it was a prayer meeting in a hall in a hotel. So when I walked in, they were already worshiping. So there was worship going on. So some people had their hands up, some people were kneeling down, some people were, so the place was quite intense. And I didn't see where my friend was sitting, my client. I didn't see where she was sitting. So the usher directed me somewhere else, and I went and sat there. And I sat there, and I just started crying. I know that I don't remember the exact song that was being ministered at the time, but it spoke so much to my soul. I didn't understand it. It was a song in Chi. I don't remember what song it was. But I just started crying. So I sat there. I just put my head down, and I just started crying, and I cried and I cried and I cried. Now service started, and the woman of God came up. So she came up, and now that I know the flow of service, I know that after praise and worship, then there's the word, before then there's ministration. But that day she came up to give the word, and I remember her beginning, starting to say something. She said, "I don't usually do this, but the Holy Spirit is speaking so much to me. That lady over there, come." Now when she said that again, I said to myself that, this is the kind of church or this is the kind of gathering and stuff that you will come, and then they'll start calling people and telling everybody's story. So I was turning around to see whose story we're about to hear. And she said, you, that lady over there. I remember I was wearing a black and white polka dot dress. And she said, "The lady in the polka dot dress, you. And she pointed at me to the usher. So the usher came and then tapped my shoulder, and I said, "No, it's a lie. It's a lie." I said, "You are kidding me." I was like, "God, today, the first day that I've come here, and you're letting them come and share my story, like to the whole." At that point, I was just like, "What is going on?" So I went to the front, and as soon as I got there, the woman of God, she put her mic down, and then she whispered to me. She just like lifted her, her head, because I had to bring my head down to listen to her. So I brought my, because of the height difference. So I came down, and she just whispered to me, and she said, "I don't know who you are. I haven't seen you before, but the Lord said I should tell you He is God." And at that point, I just fell. I mean, before I entered, I said, "Are you even a God?" And now to be called to tell me that God said I should tell you He is God. So God heard me, and God was answering me. I don't know what happened. I remember I just fell. And the ashes couldn't even lift me up. I remember I was just lying there. Again, I also had this notion before about pastors pushing, people to fall down. I'd heard stories about the ashes would choke you and you fall down and all of that. But this time I can tell you, nobody choked me and nobody pushed me. I was there on the floor and they couldn't even pick me up. And my pastor said, just leave her. And then she started the word. After that experience, now that was a powerful encounter for me. After then I asked about the church. I asked about, the meeting and all that. And I said, I really want to be a part of this. So I joined the church, and that is how, on that day, I gave my life to Christ. And I understood that, giving your life to Christ and all that is a relationship between you and Him. It's not a religion. It's not a to-do. It's not something that, you're just taking off that, yes, I've said, this prayers, I've been told to say exactly this, and I've said it. So as soon as I've said it, I'm done. But it was actually, beginning and starting a relationship, with God, talking to God, hearing from God and all that. And that's how, I started my relationship with Christ. And this was probably about 15 years ago. And I really haven't looked back. It's been a very interesting story, actually. I should say very, very, very interesting. So I gave my life to Christ. I went home. I told my husband about it. He was very, very happy to come with me as well. So we started, going to church. We stopped going to the Catholic church, and then we started, going to a charismatic church. And, through it all, like I said, we're already still battling infertility. So then prayer came in. So many people praying for me. I had great men and women of God, come in and pray for me. And it became a bit of a struggle, because like I said, having people point it to your face like that, and say things to you, and sometimes quite difficult things, quite heartbreaking, and I'll tell you about butterflies and pearls a bit later. But I really think that for now that we are having this and many people will watch and all that, I think that it's really important that we are sensitive to people's feelings and people's emotions and the things that people go through. And I think that if anybody we know is going through something, the best thing is to pray for them silently on your own, and not go and remind them, because they already know what they're going through. So to actually go and remind them that where is that child, when they know every morning that where is the child, they're probably asking themselves. So that was quite a struggle. And I remember telling myself, I said I wasn't going to count the days anymore, because a time came when people are reminding you. So you also wake up in the morning and you are saying to yourself, one more day, oh my goodness, one more month, oh my goodness. But a time came, I said to myself, I'm not going to count the days anymore. I'm not going to count the months anymore. The day I have my child, and the day I'm carrying my child, and the day I breastfeed my child, that is when I'll go back to the day I got married and count to that day to see how long it has been. Like I said, thriving business on the side, but behind, this is what I was going through, struggling with this. And then I fell ill as well. Battling with my health was another thing. Battling with infertility was on the side. Now something else came on, which was a very, very serious attack to my health. And I felt so ill. Many people don't know this. And I haven't really gone into depth to talk about that. Maybe it will be another show, but I felt really, really ill. And for about a year, I was in bed. People didn't know this. I was always well enough to go to church on Sunday, but from Monday to Saturday, I'm just lying in bed. I just couldn't do anything. There was just so much going on. For about a whole year, it was really, really traumatizing, quite scary, and then I got better slowly, and all that. And that again is such a powerful a powerful testimony. And that is why I believe so much, so truly. Nobody can tell me otherwise that our God is real. Nobody can tell me otherwise that, God is not in control of our lives. Because I've been through so many different things. I have so many different testimonies to prove that our God is real. But one thing that we all should know as well, because a lot of the time we are praying and asking for testimonies, but we need to go through the tests to get the testimonies. We'll go through hard times and rough times and difficult times. At the end of it, we'll have a breakthrough and the testimony will come. The testimony is the great, story, the great joy, the great, the great proof, that everything is okay now, but it takes a struggle. So my husband and I, like I said, we started seeking medical help. We sought a few doctors here in Ghana. I went through some difficulties, which I wouldn't want to, I want to talk about, but because of a few experiences I had with a few doctors here, I just felt like I couldn't see another doctor here. So we started, going abroad for treatments. We've had 2 failed IVFs. We've had 2 failed artificial inseminations. I've had 4 or 5 laparoscopies. Medication, my goodness, I can't count the number of pills I've swallowed. To the point where there was one time I entered a pharmacy close to my home. I remember that day I was going to pick up something from the pharmacy. And as soon as I got in, the pharmacist saw me at the door. There were other people in the pharmacy, and the pharmacist just shouted, "Oh, we are out of stock." He mentioned that medication was a fertility medication. I've forgotten what it's called. So let's say it's called ABC. "Oh, madam, sorry, we don't have ABC anymore." And I was just like, that day I was just shattered. Because I didn't come for fertility treatment. I probably came to pick up like some mouthwash or something. But I was like, has it gotten to that point where this is what is written on my forehead? That as soon as I enter a place, the woman who always buys fertility medication, we're out of it. And that shattered me. That broke me. I think things like that, experiences like that is what, was almost like always like a punch in my face. And I think that is what, started, giving me a bit of worry. So like I said, we went abroad for treatment. Anywhere we went to South Africa, saw many doctors in South Africa, saw different doctors in the UK. I mean, anywhere we went to, they told me that I was fine. 2 different doctors in South Africa told me one time that you have a beautiful womb. And I thought, it's not about beautiful womb, but I want a beautiful baby. It's not about the beautiful womb. Like, it's so many different things. So I remember one time I went and saw my pastor, and I said to her, because I'm one who, once I set my mind on something, I'm good to go with it. So I went to see my pastor one time, and I said to her that, I just want to, something that I was running, by her, and I said, I just feel like if I agree that I'm probably one of the women that God created to not have a baby, if I set my mind to that, I'll be fine. Then no matter what anybody says to me, I'll be fine, because in a way I know that is not my position. So whatever you say, it will not harm me, it will not attack me, it will not hurt me, because as I didn't even finish saying it. Stop that, never say that. Take it back in Jesus' mighty name. Why would you say something like that? Never. You will have your child. So at that time, I remember my pastor then told me about a lady in our ministry who, after 26 years of marriage, she and her husband had just had twins. I think the lady was about 52 or 54. She was above 50, 52 or 54, and they had just had twins. So my pastor said, listen, go and see the doctor that they saw. They are always seeing this doctor abroad and here. See doctors here. So I reminded her about what I went through here. And she said, that is fine. That was in the past. That's a different doctor. This is a different doctor. And this is a doctor that has helped this couple that has been struggling for 26 years. They've just had twins. So go and see this doctor. So she got the details, she gave it to me, and I went to see the doctor. So I went to see the doctor. I spoke to my husband about it. He said, okay, go and see the doctor. Come and tell me what he says. So I went to see the doctor, went through the whole history again of this and this and this and that. And the doctor said, you know what, let's try IVF again. Before we have an IVF, let's have a laparoscopy. Let's just make sure your tubes and everything is fine. Let's wash out everything in your fallopian tube just to make sure everything is fine. But before you have a laparoscopy, you have to make sure that you're not pregnant, because that would be like having an abortion, basically. So, I did the usual many times. Haven't I done this? Urine test came back negative, blood test negative. Then he said, look, sometimes the hormones are not strong enough and it doesn't show, so let's do a scan. Again, went to lie down, he scanned my womb. Then he turned the screen and he said to me, he said, as you can see, that is your stomach and there's no baby in your stomach. Oh my goodness, that was like a blow. I said, yes, doctor, I can see that. So then we booked the appointment I went to see him on a Monday, and we booked the appointment to have the laparoscopy on a Thursday. So I went home that evening, my husband came home, and feedback. What happened when you went to the doctor today? What happened? So I said, oh, you know what? He's such a nice man. Talk to him about this and this and this. And we've agreed to try IVF again, but he wants me to have a laparoscopy first and this and this and that. And I said, oh, we booked it for Thursday. And my husband said, oh, no. I booked for us to travel on Friday. That was in January of 2014. And he said, oh, I've booked for us to travel and we are going on Friday. Now, normally around January, end of January, my husband and I will always take a trip. It's my birthday at the end of January. It's his birthday at the beginning of February. Valentine's Day is at the beginning of February. So we'll always go on this trip and then just go and, celebrate, and come back. And a lot of the time we'll always end up in South Africa. So we can also have a thorough blood body checkup, medical checkup, and then come back. So my husband said, oh, I booked for us to travel, and then we are going to Dubai, we are going to South Africa. I said, we've done this so many times. We've done this trip so many times. And if for a while I had put my mind off of having children, and now I've been able to get back that confidence or that zeal to try again, why would you try it? It became an argument, my goodness, back and forth. My husband says this, I am saying this, it was just a terrible argument. And then as we're going back and forth, because after the back and forth, I can keep going, I just heard the word submission. And then I just kept quiet. Because women, as wives, we must be submissive to our husbands. In as much as I didn't want to, and in as much as I had the next word to say, when I just heard submission, I just kept quiet. And I just left it at that. So it was just that kind of cold shoulders relationship towards each other from the Monday to the Friday. We're supposed to travel on the Friday. Just, yes, please, no, please. Those kind of answers, this and this and this. So it was just kind of cold and all that. And then we traveled. We went to Dubai, and then we ended up in South Africa. Now we got to, and I'll tell you the dates and write the dates. Listen to what I'm telling you. So we got to South Africa on the 9th of February. We got to South Africa on the 9th of February. This was of 2014. We got there around 3 a.m. and we had already booked to see a doctor around 10 a.m. I told you we go and we'll have our full medical checkups. So we got there early around 3 a.m. We slept. Around 10 a.m. we went for our appointment to see the doctor. So the doctor saw me, and as soon as she saw me, oh, Renée, you are glowing. You're glowing. Are you pregnant? And I thought, right now, this is not the time for pregnancy jokes or anything, because you don't even know what we've just been through. I was just like, no, I'm not pregnant. And she said, well, I know you've been trying for a while, you and James, and I have booked for you to see one of the top fertility specialists. He's a top OBGYN. She gave us his name. I Googled his name, and he came second on the list in Pretoria in South Africa. And she said, she booked for us to have an appointment with him the next day, which was the 10th. So, oh my goodness. Anytime I recollect it, I'm just like, God is real, and God is so amazing. We went and we took all our tests, and just as we're leaving, she said the doctors had gone on a recent conference or something, and they had realized that there was a particular hormone in women that if you have above a certain percentage, then it's like your body rejects pregnancy. So she asked me if it was okay for them to test the level of that hormone in my body, just in case that is what was, delaying, my falling pregnant. And I said, look, you have everything. You have my blood. You have my everything. Do whatever test you want to do. Like, at that point, to be honest, I'd almost like given up, even though I wasn't saying it. But in my mind, I was hurt and broken because, of what had just transpired before we left and all that. So at that point, I just said, look, you just do what you want to do. So we got home later on that evening. I remember, my husband fell asleep watching football. I was just lying down, and I was just so sad. I was broken is the word. I was so broken. I was just like, God, what is all this that I'm going through? And you are God. It's not like you don't know. And I one time I said to him, I said, God, you knew everything that I'll go through. So why did you make me this name that has become a household name? Because my business was thriving in Ghana, Renée Q. Everybody knew the Renée Q brand. Why did you make me this person, knowing that I'll go through this struggle and this difficulty and have everybody talking? When I say everybody, you know what I mean? Like people talking about me, people, when people are talking about how Renée Q is doing well, then somebody else will say, oh, but at the end of the day, she's barren, so what's the big deal? And that kind of thing. Why did you make me this very quiet lady sitting in a corner, struggling in peace, struggling in private, nobody knowing what she was going through? But you made me this force and this name, and people mention my name, and when they mention my name and they want to say something positive, somebody standing next to them can try to pull me down by using the word barren. And so all those thoughts, back and forth going on. I remember one time in Ghana, before then, one time I was going for a walk, and this was a conversation that I had with God. And that's what I said. I said, why, God, why? Why would you do this? It's like you're putting me to shame. It's like you are shaming me because you knew all of this and you didn't have to make this happen. You really could have just hidden me somewhere to struggle on my own. But then now you've made me this force, like I'm saying, that anybody, anywhere can talk about me. And I just heard this laughter, this loud laughter. And I just heard this voice say, it is not about you, it is about me. That this story is for my glory. Now, at the time when I heard it, I wasn't so sure. And I was wondering if I was making it up or, all that confusion. Sometimes you remember, because I always used to say sometimes when I would hear from the Holy Spirit, I would say something said that, or I'll say, I think. But now I have that confidence to say that at that time, it was God speaking to me really when he said, it is not about you, it is about me. And this story is for my glory. Now, going back to the 9th of February 2014 in South Africa. So my husband is asleep and I'm just lying there. Again, I go back recollecting all those conversations with God, recollecting. Sometimes I used to just sit down and remember certain things that people would say to me. One time somebody saying to me, your husband already has children, so obviously you are the problem. Oh my goodness, such blows, such punches. And I was just lying there that day and I was just remembering all of these things. So I went and took a shower. This was around 3 a.m. So I went and took a shower, and as the water was just running down and falling down me, so were my tears, just running down and falling down. I remember that day I said to God, God, this man that you blessed me with, he's a good man. And he's been so good to me. He has held me up. He has stood by my side. He has taught me so much. He's been so good to me. And what have I given him back? In a way, it's almost like I just felt so ashamed in a way, because I just felt like he's given me so much of himself, and what have I given to him? So I remember that day I just said, God, it's his birthday in 2 days. What can I give to him? But if I was pregnant, we could go for dinner or something, and whilst we are having dinner or something, maybe just when we're just about to do a cheers happy birthday, I'm like, babes, guess what? I'm pregnant. Happy birthday. And that's just something that I thought, something that I said in my thoughts. That's just something that I imagined, something that I pictured, and something that I just said to God in my mind. I just said, wouldn't that be the best gift to give to him, really? Because he really deserves it. That day, I remember I said, he really deserves it. He really deserves it. And there's nothing else that I can give him that really is worth, what he deserves. And I went to bed. Now, 10th of February in the morning, already was morning, 3 a.m., I went to bed. So let me say a few hours after, Dr. Mary calls, and Dr. Mary is screaming on the phone, Renée, come to the hospital now. Renée, you are pregnant. Renée. And at that point, I was like, again, I thought she was doing that, you are glowing, you look pregnant kind of thing. So I gave the phone to my husband and I said, Dr. Mary is on the phone, please talk to her. And I just gave the phone to him. So I saw him, he had the phone there, and he was just quiet, and he just said, okay, we'll come. So he got off the phone and he said, let's go and see Dr. Mary. And I said, what was she saying? And he said, let's go and see Dr. Mary. So we went and saw Dr. Mary. As soon as we sat down, she said, Renée, you're pregnant. Renée, you're pregnant. Now, this is one thing that Christians do. We pray to God for a miracle. And as soon as God does it, we doubt it. I prayed to God that morning around 3 a.m. I said, tomorrow is my husband's birthday. My husband's birthday was on the 11th of February. Oh God, won't you bless me with the fruit of the womb so I can present that to my husband as a gift on his birthday? And the Lord did it. And come and hear me arguing with this doctor that it's not possible. This is me, Dr. Mary, it is not possible. She said, now what she said was, they tested that hormone. Okay, that hormone that she had said that, above a certain percentage of it, your body rejects pregnancy. So they tested that hormone, and she said, I was way above the percentage, but so much way above it that at that stage, you probably have a chronic disease. God forbid, I don't have a chronic disease. Like you either have like a cancer or something, or like there's another sort of set of hormones in your body, like another like being in your body. So when they got that percentage, she just took my blood and did a pregnancy test, and it's positive. So she just turned the sheet and she showed it to me, and she said, this is it. It's saying that you are positive. Still, this is me insisting I'm not pregnant. I just left Ghana 5 days ago, or 6 days ago. And we did a blood test negative, urine test negative. We did a scan. The doctor showed me the screen. I saw myself. Then I've just gone to Dubai 2 days and I've come here. No, you're telling me that I'm pregnant. This is me telling the doctor, God forgive me. Oh, God forgive me. I'm telling you, the Christians, we are just too cute and too funny sometimes. This is me arguing with it. So anyway, Dr. Mary says, listen, I'm a GP. This is what I've seen. Now I've booked for you to go and see the specialist. Your appointment is 2 p.m. today. So you go and see him. Don't tell him anything that I've said. Just go and see him and see what he will say. So 2 p.m. we go and see this amazing doctor. We go and see him, and I tell, because you have to go through, say the whole story again, blah, 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 what you've been through, things you've done. So went through the whole story again. And he said, okay, you know what? Come and lie down. Let me scan your womb, and let me see, if there's anything that I will also see. And then just so we see the next step. So my husband and I go inside into his scanning room, and then I lay there, and then this is the man, scanning my womb, and then he takes it round and he gets somewhere, then he presses it a bit more, and then he goes here. And please, the scan, it normally is like one, and then they show you the thing. But this is the doctor going a bit, then he'll go back a bit, then he'll go here a bit, and I'm thinking, is it the same womb? What is this? Then he turns the screen to me and he says, I'm not so sure what you're talking about, because this is your womb over there, and that is a baby in your womb. My goodness. Like this was me, dumbstruck. Like my, I don't even remember what my husband did. I think he, anyway, let me not tell you what he did. But like, I was just like, he turned the screen, and that is what he showed us. That was it. And he said, that is a baby. He said, according to what I can see, the baby is about 5 weeks old. 5 weeks old. And I just left Ghana 5 days before, and we didn't see it. I mean, this is when we say miracle. When you hear the word miracle, I mean, this is a miracle. Like that, this is me telling you what I went through and what I saw myself. 5 days before, blood test negative, urine test negative, the same scan, the same kind of screen, maybe much smaller, yeah, but the same screen, then showing me that is my, see, I saw it all. Now I'm here in a different country. Now you're showing me my womb on a bigger screen, and you're telling me that's a baby inside my womb. Wow. I mean, this is it. I was just like, he said, I don't know what you're talking about, but this is it. Now again, he went and checked again, and he said, from the look of things, you felt pregnant probably, he said, around the first week of January. He said, probably around the first week of January. Now, what is really interesting is that sometime in before so I think it was around November 2014, I again had this conversation with God, and I was like, God, so many people have prayed for me. I've had so many great men and women pray for me, and sometimes I would mention their names. So sometimes I would say, oh God, Pastor has prayed for me, Bishop has prayed for me, and then I'll be mentioning their names. Now, I believed that because I had all those anointed hands laid upon me, at that time, I felt like, what other prayer can I add onto that? So they prayed for me, and so that is the end, basically. So I think, looking back, that I wasn't praying as much for myself because I was being prayed for. Because I had such powerful men and women of God praying for me, that when they finished praying for me, I say that huge amen, and I think that that is all. So at that time, I remember it was sometime in November 2014, I just started talking to God, and I just said, God, this person has prayed for me. This person has prayed for me. And how come it is not working? These are powerful men and women of God who always have powerful testimonies and all that. So how come? And I heard a voice. It was like a voice shout at me, have you prayed for yourself? It was like that. I just heard a voice say, have you prayed for yourself? And at that point, I just went silent. And it just struck me like that have I really, really prayed for myself? Because at the time, unless, there's a communal prayer or fast, unless, unless my church or maybe, a ministry that I follow is having a prayer or fast, I never, ever lifted up a fast for myself. Never would I say, oh, I'm fasting 3 days or 7 days or 24 days or, anything like that. I mean, unless we've been told to. So that day, it was like a reprimand. It was like, again, I keep saying punches, but yes, it was another like punch, like, have you prayed for yourself? So I decided that the whole of December, I was going to pray. The whole of December, I was going to pray and I was going to fast. And I didn't tell anybody about it. I just said the whole of December. Now, I didn't want to fast with time because I felt like that wouldn't be much of a, it wouldn't give me that sort of an impact, because sometimes, I can be busy the whole day and haven't eaten, so it won't do much for me. It won't be a fast, basically. So I said, let me fast, let me do a kind of Daniel's fast where I'm fasting off of something that I really like. So I said, for the whole of December, no meat, no chicken. And that is hard for me, my goodness. How can I eat without meat or chicken? No, and I don't like fish. No meat, no chicken. And that's what I said to myself, that the whole of December, I'm fasting off meat, I'm fasting off chicken. When I'm eating dry food. And it was hard for me. That was harder than 6 to 6, I'm telling you. That was hard for me. And the whole of December 2014, I did that and I was praying. And I didn't tell anybody. And it was really tough for me. I remember December 31st, that year, that 2014, after my fast, December 31st, we went to church. You know how on the 31st night, the whole church is full. There's an overflow because 31st night, everybody comes to church. The church was full that day. And there was a time where, praise and worship had started. And we were all worshiping, but nobody had gone to the front to dance yet. I felt like going. There was this push, go and dance, go and dance, go and dance. And at that time, I was saying to myself that nobody has started dancing yet. So you let me be here. But I just kept getting that push. Go forward and go and dance. Go and celebrate. Go and dance. So I just got up and I was just going. I remember my husband said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to the front. I'm going to dance." So then he just chaired himself for me to go. And then I went to the front. So I got to the front, and as I got to the front, the lady ministering just started singing. They started ministering, "Come and see, oh, come and see." So then I just went to the front, and like she and I, and we're just looking at each other, we're just singing and dancing. "Come and see what the Lord has done. Come and see what the Lord has." And I was just dancing. I was just like screaming my head, and I was the only one in front. But this is me and her singing to each other and just dancing. And now when I was doing that, I saw myself in like a white joromi. Is it called a joromi? You know what the Northerners wear? Like a batakari, like a big joromi. And I saw myself in a big white one. And as I was doing that, it's like I was dancing, and it's like it was just going round. Come and see what the Lord, and it was just going around. And that's what I saw. And I saw like it was like I was at an engagement, or my own like engagement or wedding or some sort of ceremony, and this is what I was wearing. And as I was doing it, was just going round and going round and going round. So that song ended, and then we worshiped with other songs, we praised with other songs. Now when I was going back to sit down, I turned back to go and sit down. And again, like I'm saying, this is what I saw in my vision. I saw that like the whole church, everybody started laughing at me. Everybody started hooting at me. Yeah, right. Come and see what has the Lord done? All the time you've asked and asked and asked. The end of the year, what has he done? Then some people are laughing here, some people are laughing there. And I was so ashamed. From the front to where I was sitting, I put my head down like this, and I just walked. And as I was walking, this is what I was seeing. Like people laughing, ooh, people hooting at me, clapping, laughing, So I put my head, because I thought it was real. So I put my head down like this. And I just went, and I went to sit down. So I went to sit down, and I just put my head down. And I just couldn't lift my head up. And at that point, it was of shame. I felt so shame. I was just like this, and I just couldn't put my head up. Now, this was 31st December. Now, the doctor told me that from what he was seeing, I got pregnant a few days after that. Now, I got pregnant after I did that personal prayer and fast. After I fasted for a whole month myself. After I prayed for a whole month myself. After that, just a week after, this is what the doctor is saying, that from what he's seeing, it seems like probably in the first week of January. Now, when I think about it, and when I always recollect this story and all that, it speaks to me, and it tells me how, as Christians, just before our breakthrough, just before your breakthrough, the enemy will come hooting at you. The enemy will come deceiving you, laughing at you, telling you all these things that you will hear, all those little tiny voices. But we as Christians have the authority, and we do have the authority, and what we have to say is shut up. That is really what we have to say, and not put our heads down in shame. We really need to lift our heads up, knowing that the power that is within us is stronger and mightier than any other. And what we say is what counts. Really, at that time, did I know that? At that time, really, my head was down in shame. So this is what happened. We went to SA, the doctor telling me there's a baby in my womb, and that was the 10th of February. So truly on the 11th of February, my husband and I had dinner. And truly on the 11th of February, his birthday, at one point, I picked up my champagne glass of juice and I said, "Babes, happy birthday, I'm pregnant." Truly, the Lord did it. And our son is called Centrene. Centrene means miracle. His first name is Zane, and Zane means gift from God. Like I told you, I said I stopped counting, and I told myself that I will count on the day that my son is born. Now, during that 9 months, it wasn't easy. that 9 months period, oh my goodness, so many different things. As soon as we found out that I was pregnant, the doctor in South Africa said he wouldn't advise that I should travel back to Ghana just because of the history and all that. And he felt like if I was pregnant now, we should be careful. So he didn't advise that I go back to Ghana. I also called my pastor. My pastor also said, do not even come back, stay there and do everything there. So the doctor, did his, wrote a letter and all that. And my visa was immediately transformed to a medical visa. And I stayed in South Africa. I was supposed to stay there without coming to Ghana. I came to Ghana, I cheated and came to Ghana twice. And anytime I came, there were issues, but I quickly went back. It was a tough time. There was the beginning, the first trimester or so, there was a time that I started getting this rash, and it was so bad. It would come at night, and I would just, it was so itchy. I would scratch my whole body, and as I was scratching, like bumps are coming up, and everywhere is itching at the same time. So where can I even scratch at the time? So I'll be crying. I went and saw the doctor, and the doctor said it was a condition called PAP, P-U-P-P-P. I can't even say the whole long thing. It's a whole long thing. And he said what it is an allergy to pregnancy. And it happens to 1 in 200 women. And I said, and I am the 1 in 200 women that my body is allergic to pregnancy. God forbid. Again, we started prayers on that. Now, another miracle that the Lord did was there was one time that during the pregnancy, I had really, really cracked lips. My lips were so dry and cracked. So I went to a pharmacy one time, and then I saw this little ointment, and it said for dry lips, for chapped dry lips. I read it. It was a product made in South Africa, and it just reminded me of shea butter, of our local shea butter. So I bought some, but I bought a few of them. I bought quite a few of them, and I used it that evening, but I didn't like the smell of it. It was too strong, so I didn't use it again. So I just had it there. Now, there was one of these evenings where I was scratching my body, wishing I had a knife. At that time, I was using a hairbrush. That's what I was using to scratch my body because it was terrible. At that point, I was wishing I had a knife because that is what I felt like would do the job. Thank God I didn't have any knife around me. But then I just felt in my spirit, take that lip ointment, that what you bought, and put it on your body. Now, this is what I heard, and this is what I felt to do. But then I just felt like it says it's written on it for dry, chapped lips. What has that got to do with PUPPP that my doctor said I have on my skin? But it was so serious that I just said, look, let me just use it, So I went and I took the containers. I bought about 6 of them, took all of them out, started smearing it all over my body. And that was the last time it ever came. Just like that. Now, when I saw the doctor told me that if you have this condition, you will have it throughout the 9 months because there's nothing to cure it. It's just your body reacting and you are pregnant. So until you are no longer pregnant, you will go through it. And this is another miracle. God performed so many. I have so many miracles that the Lord has done for me. I have so many testimonies that I can share. But indeed, our God is a good God. He is an amazing God. He's done so much for me. This walk of a lot of pain, a lot of difficulty, and all of that has brought me closer to Him and has made me believe more that I am His child. Has made me believe more that, if I do believe and I have the confidence and I have the faith and I ask Him for something, and if I do believe that He can give it to me, it will happen. On the day that I had my son, on the day that my son was handed over to me, I remember I just started breastfeeding him and I asked my husband for his phone, and I went back to the day that we got engaged, the day that we got married. It was the 14th of August, 2006. And when I calculated to the day that I was carrying my son, it was 9 years, 6 weeks, and 3 days. After 9 years, 6 weeks, and 3 days, the Lord blessed us with the fruit of the womb. The Lord blessed us with our son, Zane Renée Boateng, the gift of God, the miracle from God. And truly, this has been a great story that I keep sharing. Now, I remember during the time of the fast, during the 31-day fast that I did in December, there was one time that I think I was reading stories in the Bible, And it just clicked to me that anybody and everybody, most people who asked the Lord for something, they made a covenant with him. They promised him something. So Hannah, promised that, give me a child and I'll give my son back to you and all that. So I said, what can I promise God? Let me also make a covenant with God. Now, I had to make sure that it was something that I could actually fulfill. It was something that I could actually do. So there was one time I was praying and I said to God, God, bless me with the fruit of the womb. And I said, God, I will stand on mountains and I will testify. I will stand on mountains. I will tell the world of what you have done for me. I will stand on mountains. Now, the time that I said mountains, I actually thought that, sometimes I'll drive up to a Bree mountain and go and talk to the people there. Sometimes maybe there's a mountain that I'll hear of, like a prayer mountain. Maybe I'll drive up there and go. But at that time, Facebook had started. Social media had started. And I had a Facebook account. At that time, I had about 16,000 followers. So there was one time that I was sharing something and the Holy Spirit just said to me, Facebook, this is a powerful mountain. 16,000 followers at the same time. This is even bigger than a Bree that you're going, because you go to a Bree, you won't get 16,000 people. Social media is a powerful mountain. And then that's when I started talking on social media. That's when I started sharing my testimony on social media. Then Instagram started, and then I started doing lives on Instagram and all of that. And then, so I never ever say no when I'm invited to come and speak, when I'm invited to come and share my testimony. This is a powerful mountain. Sitting here now, sharing this with you, is a powerful mountain. And this has given me the opportunity to fulfill my promise to God. So I never ever say no. A lot of the time, I'm invited by different churches to come and to share my testimony. And I felt led by the Holy Spirit as well to start, a group, a movement, Butterflies and Pearls. This is a group of women, a group of women waiting on the Lord for the fruit of the womb. Now, one time the Lord said to me that encourage my daughters, tell them that what I did for you, I'll do the same for them and even more. Now, if I tell you how it even came up, that's a whole long story. But I just heard that day, I just heard the voice say to me that just tell my daughters, just keep telling them that what I did for you, I'll do the same for them. I'll do the same for them. And that's how Butterflies and Pearls started. So it's a group of women waiting on the Lord for different things. Some are waiting for the fruit of the womb, some are waiting for marriage, some are waiting for healing, some are waiting for breakthroughs, some are waiting to find their purpose. Waiting on the Lord for anything. Who isn't waiting on the Lord for something? I don't know. So we come together and sometimes, I have lives. Sometimes we have a group on Instagram. We have a WhatsApp group as well. Now, there was one time I was praying in church, and one time the Holy Spirit said to me that it's not just a group that you formed. You actually have to pray for them every day. You have to pray for them every day. There was one time I was praying in church, and I went to sow a seed at the altar. And when I knelt there, I said, God, you know the desires of all of these women. And it's not like you cannot do it. Right now, before I even get up, you could have answered everybody's, prayer. You could have answered. So I said, God, why won't you just, I was literally begging him. And I just heard, gather them and just worship me. That's what I heard. Gather them and just worship me. So I went back and then I said to my ladies, I said, the Lord said that we should worship him more. So I put together, just like that, I was just obeying what I'd heard. And then I organized a program, Waiting in Worship. And I think so far we've met about 4 times or so. So every now, maybe quarterly or so, we'll have that. It's a free program. I just put it together and I just invite women waiting on the Lord to come, and we worship the Lord throughout. We thank the Lord. We praise the Lord. We worship the Lord. Because what the enemy wants is to put our heads down. That's what the enemy wants, to break us. To all those things I was telling you that I was going through, that is not of God, because what God has planned for us is of good and no evil at all. God will never ever never plan for anybody's head to be down in shame. But that's what the enemy wants. Now, when we are going through these struggles, if we do put our heads in, put our heads down and we are crying and we are wailing and we are weeping, then the enemy is like, yes, I've got them. But if during and through the storm, we are worshiping the Lord. If through the pain, we are worshiping the Lord. A lot of people ask me, how did you go through it in 9 years, waiting on the Lord? And trust me, even when I was sick for that 1 year, lying in bed the whole time, worship is what got me through. Because there were times that I couldn't pray. What should I say again? Or what am I saying? Or how am I saying it? I mean, there were times that I couldn't even just pray, but I'll worship. And the worship was my prayer. So as I'm worshiping, I am speaking it unto the Lord. So it's not just a song that I'm just singing because I like the tune or I like the words, but it was unto the Lord, unto the Lord. I remember one time I went for a conference at the National Theatre, and I used to go to that conference. It was an annual conference, and anytime I go, it was the Love Revolution. Anytime that I would go and there was testimonies, I would sit there and I would look up and I'm like, when will I also one day come and share my testimony on this stage? I would ask myself, when will I come and share my testimony? I mean, there were times that I could get so emotional. When will I also be there one day sharing my testimony? And there was one time, this song that was being ministered. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And all will see how great. Now, anytime I hear that song, and that day, when that part came and all will see, I actually looked around. I looked around because I was envisioning. I was like, so one day will I be here and all these people here will see how great God is through what He has done through me. So I started looking around and all will see. And ever since then, anytime that I'm hearing that song or when I hear that song or when I'm singing that song, I actually will close my eyes and picture that I'm standing somewhere, and because of what I'm saying, all around are seeing how great God is. It always used to hit me. I would just picture myself standing somewhere and speaking, and as I'm speaking, all around who are seeing and hearing are saying, oh wow, so God is this great, so God is this amazing. Now guess what? God did it. And in 2 or 3 years after, I was on that stage. I was invited after I had my son. I came back to Ghana. The next conference that they had, I was actually invited to come and share my testimony. I was on that stage sharing my testimony. 3-4 years before, I was crying at this conference, asking when. Well, the time came and the Lord did it, and I was standing on that stage. And as I was speaking, all were seeing how great our God is. Our God is an amazing God. He is truly a God. I'm still on the journey. I won't say I've gotten to the end yet. I won't say that, I've gotten to like the height of the heights. I'm still on the journey, but I am just so happy. I have to say that I'm really, really so glad that I found the Lord, or the Lord found me. And that when the Lord called me, I obeyed. And the Lord was calling me through somebody, through my client who would come, who now is my very, very good friend. And she's the godmother of my son, an amazing woman, who is still still with me now. Still, we pray together sometimes, we encourage each other. And we need people like that in our lives as well. People who would, just, pray. We need those kinds of people in our lives. And it's really, really important. And I'm so blessed to have her in my life as well. So it's been very, very interesting. It's been a very, very, I've tried to summarize it, trust me. It's been a whole journey. It's been a whole journey. But through it all, like the Lord told me, this whole story is for His glory.